It's midnight and you're tuning in to Nightline with me, Sabrina Zainal. News making the headlines. Prime Minister announces special Eid al-Fitr aid for civil servants and pensioners. And London's Heathrow airport closed after fire causes major power outage. Good morning. We begin with this story. Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim on Friday announced a special Eid al-Fitr financial aid of 500 ringgit for civil servants in grade 56 and below.
Tadbiran itu lebih baik, khidmat mereka lebih baik dan kesungguhannya pun ada, maka saya putuskan insya-Allah dalam minggu depan kita akan salurkan bawah grade 56 ke bawah RM500 bagi setiap penjawat awam, dan untuk pesara RM250 termasuk veteran dan veteran tidak berpencen.
Anwar said this to reporters after joining around 3,000 congregants for Friday prayers at the Sultan Abdul Samad Mosque in Sepang. He added that the initiative involves a financial implication of nearly 1 billion ringgit and will benefit more than 2 million civil servants and government retirees. Anwar also stated that this is why civil servants must understand the government's firm and strict stance on governance issues, and that by preventing leakages and corruption, the government can ensure its revenue is returned to the people. Meanwhile, Anwar, who is also the finance minister, stated that payments for phase 2 of the SDR Cash Aid initiative will benefit nearly 9 million recipients, accounting for 60% of Malaysia's adult population. Recipients will receive up to 650 ringgit depending on their eligibility.
Isnin, sumbangan tunai rahmah akan juga dikeluarkan supaya meringankan beban rakyat, dan untuk SDR mencecah 1.7 bilion ringgit.
Anwar stated that the government is always attentive to the needs of the people affected by the rising cost of living, especially with Hari Raya Eid al-Fitr approaching. Therefore, the allocation for STR and Sumbangan Asas Rahmah Sara has been increased by 30% to 13 billion ringgit to enhance the people's standard of living fairly and equitably. Registration for STR 2025 is open throughout the year to enable more people to benefit from it.
At an event earlier, Anwar stated that Malaysia is further solidifying its position as a major player in the global aviation industry with an order for 30 Boeing 737 aircraft set for delivery by 2030. The Prime Minister said that this order underscores the competitiveness of the country's aviation sector.
Now, this milestone is not just about modernizing the fleet, but also fortifying Malaysia's position as a key player in global aviation and strengthening our economic foundation in an increasingly competitive world. Aviation has always been a catalyst for economic progress, opening doors to trade, tourism, and new opportunities.
Anwar made these remarks in his keynote address at the document exchange ceremony for the MAG narrow-body aircraft replacement order in Putrajaya. To enhance its fleet, Malaysia Aviation Group, MAG, has placed an order for 18 units of the Boeing 737-8 model and 12 units of the Boeing 737-10 model. Currently, MAG operates 113 aircraft, including 42 Boeing aircraft under Malaysia Airlines and 5 under Firefly. Meanwhile, the American aviation giant Boeing has also announced its commitment to increasing its local workforce by 20% over the next 2 years.
Kedah, in our Boeing composite manufacturing plant, Malaysians are making a little bit of Malaysia that is going to every Boeing aeroplane in the world. We are proud of this partnership, and we will do the very best that we can to grow our supply chain, grow our manufacturing presence.
Presently, Boeing is supported by over 1,000 local workers at its component manufacturing facility in Kedah. This workforce expansion also aligns with the growing demand for aircraft in the region, which is projected to reach 4,700 units over the next 20 years.
Now, the flood situation in Johor, Sabah and Sarawak continues to worsen as 13,739 people have been evacuated as of 10 p.m. on Friday. Johor remains the most affected, with 12,069 individuals being evacuated to 97 temporary evacuation centres, PPS, across the state.
Johor Bahru is the worst-hit district with 4,715 evacuees in 27 PPS, followed by Kluang as 2,360 individuals taking shelter in 24 PPS. Other districts affected by floods are Pontian, Kota Tinggi, Kulai,
Tak ada masalah, teruskan.
Fadlina said this to reporters after visiting the SK Kencana PPS in Simpang Renggam, Johor on Friday. So far, 7 schools in Johor Bahru, Kota Tinggi and
at a warehouse.
Acting Bukit Aman Narcotics Crime Investigation Department NCID Director, Deputy Commissioner Mat Zani, alias Muhammad Salahuddin Che Ali, said this was the largest seizure of shabu made by police in the country's history. The seizure was made based on information provided by the Australian Federal Police. An operation under a joint task force led authorities to the 2 containers at Westport, Pulau Indah. The barrels were declared as containing materials for processing cosmetic products and paraffin wax to evade detection by enforcement officers.
Jumlah dadah ini kalau tersebar kepada semua masuk ke dalam negara kita ataupun ke luar negara, boleh digunakan seramai 166 juta orang.
Police are currently working to identify the drug cartel responsible for the shipment. The case is being investigated under the Dangerous Drugs Act.
In Pahang, a married couple was among 4 arrested by police in Raub on March 19th for their alleged involvement with a drug trafficking syndicate. The suspects, aged between 37 and 59, were detained along with 13.4 kilograms of drugs worth over 421,000 ringgit.
Pahang Police Chief Datuk Sri Yahya Othman said a police team from the State Narcotics Crime Investigation Department had ambushed the suspects and conducted checks on their 2 vehicles, which were in a parking area at Jalan Pasar around 3:30 p.m. The policemen then found plastic packages and yellow packets of Chinese tea believed to contain shabu, along with compressed ganja. Initial investigations showed the couple and their two friends had been traveling from the Klang Valley to Raub to deliver drugs to customers over the past 3 months. The syndicate is believed to have been active since early this year and is masterminded by locals based in the Klang Valley. Authorities also stated that the suspects had obtained their drug supplies from dealers in the area before traveling to Pahang for distribution. All the suspects have been remanded until March 26th to assist investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act.
In Malacca, a man was killed while 5 others were injured in a fire that engulfed a 2-story terrace house in Bandar Hilir on Friday. The blaze, which occurred at around 4 a.m., is believed to have originated from a prayer area in the living room. Now, a total of 20 personnel from the Malacca Tengah and Padang Temu fire and rescue stations were dispatched to the scene after receiving an emergency call about the incident. The deceased victim was identified as 59-year-old Tan Kim Hock, who was pronounced dead at the scene by medical personnel after suffering severe burns. All 5 injured victims, comprising 4 men and 1 woman aged between 38 and 76, were taken to Malacca Hospital for treatment. Firefighters managed to fully extinguish the blaze by 6:27 a.m. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. In Johor, a retired teacher pleaded not guilty on Friday to 10 counts of committing physical sexual assault on 9 pupils during a remote-control jet workshop last month. 65-year-old Lan Sairan made the plea after the charges were read out to him before Judge Nariman Badruddin at the Muar Sessions Court on Friday.
The widower is accused of committing the offence against the 9 students aged between 9 and 12 at a school in Kluang between February 26th and 27th. The charge under the Sexual Offences Against Children Act carries a maximum 20-year prison sentence and caning upon conviction. The judge allowed bail of 48,000 ringgit for all charges and ordered the accused to report to the nearest police station once a month and not disturb the victims or prosecution witnesses until the completion of the case. The court also set April 24th for case remention.
The Pilgrims Fund Board, LTH, has declared a higher profit distribution of 3.25% after zakat for the financial year 2024, marking it the highest payout in 7 years. The distribution of profits involved a sum of 2.92 billion ringgit and would benefit more than 9.54 million depositors. This marks an increase from the 2.72 billion ringgit distributed to 9.15 million depositors in 2023. TH Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer Datuk Syed Hamadah Said Othman said the improved profit distribution was driven by stronger investment performance, supported by economic growth and a positive stock market last year. As of December 31st, 2024, Tabung Haji's total assets under management stood at 95.06 billion ringgit, while its fund size amounted to 91.75 billion ringgit. The Consumer Credit Oversight Board, CCOB, plans to finalize and gazette the Consumer Credit Bill, CCB 2025, by the end of this year. Bank Negara Malaysia Assistant Governor Abu Hassan Al-Shari Yahya, who leads the CCOB task force, said the bill is part of efforts to strengthen consumer protection in the credit sector.
Dengan kewujudan Akta Kredit Pengguna nanti, SKP ataupun Suruhanjaya Kredit Pengguna akan mengawal selia pemberi kredit dan pemberi perkhidmatan kredit yang tidak dikawal selia oleh mana-mana pihak berkuasa pada waktu ini.
He added that the legislative transformation will ensure that the consumer credit industry is well regulated, fair and responsible and viable. The CCB was tabled for its first reading in Parliament on March 4th, with the second reading expected to take place in the next parliamentary session between June to August. The bill aims to enhance consumer protection by regulating credit businesses and credit service providers, promoting responsible lending practices and proper market conduct, as well as fostering a fair, efficient and transparent credit industry.
How will the renewed Malaysia-EU trade talks unlock new economic opportunities for Malaysia? What challenges remain in finalising a free trade agreement after 12 years? Which key sectors in Malaysia stand to benefit the most from deeper collaboration? Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan speaks with former MITRI Secretary-General Tan Sri Rebecca Star-Maria only on Money Matters this Saturday evening on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
Japanese inflation eased in February, with prices excluding fresh food rising 3% year-on-year in the world's fourth largest economy. Government data on Friday showed the core consumer price index slowed from 3.2% in January, remaining above the Bank of Japan's 2% target, which has been exceeded every month since April 2022. According to officials, government subsidies for electricity and gas bills also contributed to the deceleration. February's core reading narrowly beat expectations of 2.0% as rising prices for petrol, food and accommodation, among other necessities, continued to squeeze households. Siobhan through to the quarterfinals. Actions from the Swiss Open after this breather.
Ada 3 resepi yang sangat sedap yang menggunakan telur. Resepi pertama yang I nak share hari ini, nama dia adalah Yam Kai Dao. This is one of my favorite recipe, iaitu egg burji. So this is the perfect dish for you. Dari resepi Filipina, nama dia tortang talong. Nama dia memang complicated, tapi sebenarnya dia adalah eggplant omelette. So make sure korang cuba resepi-resepi ni. Tak tahu dah nak makan yang mana, tak boleh nak pilih dah ni.
Fenomena alam seperti laut terbelah di kawasan Pulau Pangkor yang airnya surut jauh, kita rebut peluang jadi siput kijing emas ni.
Oh, dia pancuk bang.
Dia ada seni yang tersendiri. Tak semua orang boleh jejak kijing ni.
Base jam ada satu payung saja. Cuma bergantung ke satu payung. Untuk itu kita mesti melipat payung dengan betul.
Tujuan utama kita terjunan 24 jam. Justin punya idea. Saya rasa sangat bangga dengan pencapaian Justin dan saya punya tim.
Jenayah berlaku di sekeliling kita.
Keluar.
Tiada siapa yang terkecuali daripada menjadi mangsa. Yang bersalah pasti menerima pada. Ramadan ini, 999 membantras jenayah. Setiap Selasa, 9 malam.
Jenayah membawa pada.
Indahkan Memori Ramadan di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Langkah naifnya ke ibu kota ternyata menambah perit derita.
Tolong, Ustaz, lepaskan aku. Tolong.
Lari. Di tengah lorong kelam penuh noda, hidupnya berubah.
Kau nak ajar aku cara aku jaga anak aku ke?
Sedih saya bukan apa anak awak ni demam.
Mencari Tuhan di sebalik dosa. Sabtu 10 malam. Terbaharu di Cerai Kerama. Indahkan Memori Ramadan di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
We're back with sports. Badminton, the 2025 Swiss Open. Goh Sun Huat, Siobhan Lai are the last Malaysians standing at the Super 300 tournament after battling through the mixed doubles last 16 on Thursday.
The defending champions overcame a tough challenge from Thailand's world number 17, Ruthanapak Uptong, Jenica Sutjai Praparat, recording a hard-fought 20-22, 25-23, 21-11 victory. Their win sets up a tough quarter-final clash against another Thai duo, Dechapol Pavaramikro, Supisara Peosampran, their third encounter this year. Meanwhile, compatriots Wang Tianqi, Lim Chiu-sian found the going tough against French fourth seeds Tom Jiquel, Delphine Delroux, losing 16-21, 10-21. Malaysia's challenge in the men's singles also came to an end after Leong Junhao fell to Japan's Kenta Nishimoto. World number 26 Junhao fought well but bowed out 17-21, 22-20, 20-22 against the world number 13. The same fate befell Goh Jin-wei in the women's singles as she put up a fierce challenge against second seed Supanida Katetong. The battle between the two SEA Games champions saw Supanida prevail 21-9, 18-21, 24-22 after 59 minutes of play.
On to Formula One, the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton obliterated the Shanghai lap record to take a stunning pole position on Friday for the sprint race in only his second race weekend with Ferrari.
The seven-time world champion, who has won a record 6 Chinese Grand Prix, flew round the resurfaced Shanghai International Circuit in 1 minute 30.849 seconds, easily beating the 1 minute 32.238 seconds set in 2004 at the inaugural Chinese GP by fellow seven-time world champion Michael Schumacher. Reigning world champion Max Verstappen of Red Bull, who won both the sprint and main race in China last year, was second fastest, trailing only 0.018 seconds. McLaren's Oscar Piastri came in third, while Ferrari's Charles Leclerc took fourth, with Mercedes' George Russell closing out the top 5. Piastri's teammate Lando Norris, winner of the season opening race in Australia last weekend, qualified 6th after running wide and aborting his final flying lap. The 19-lap sprint race will take place on Saturday morning before Grand Prix qualifying later the same day.
Football now, the 2026 CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. A last-gasp Vinicius Jr. strike earned Brazil a hard-fought 2-1 win over Colombia in the South American qualifiers on Thursday.
The 5-time World Cup champions started strong and grabbed the lead within 6 minutes through a Rafinha penalty after Vinicius was fouled inside the box by Daniel Munoz. Colombia equalized just 4 minutes before halftime when James Rodriguez found Luis Diaz on the left and the winger cut inside before calmly driving the ball into the bottom far corner of the net. Vinicius sealed the win for Brazil in the dying minutes when he unleashed a curling strike from the edge of the box that evaded keeper Camilo Vargas and found the back of the net. Brazil will now travel to face old rivals Argentina on Tuesday.
Heathrow Airport closed after fire causes power outage. The details when Nightline returns.
Siapa kata artis suka pergi beli dekat kedai mahal-mahal je, supermarket mahal-mahal je. Saya beli udang 2 kilo sebab anak-anak saya suka makan udang juga. Mana baby? Oi, nangis macam kena pukul tu. Biar buat atas. Sebab kita niat untuk membantu mereka yang memerlukan.
Kita saksikan Oh Mami setiap hari Sabtu 6 petang hanya di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Fenomena alam seperti laut terbelah di kawasan Pulau Pangkor yang airnya surut jauh, kita rebut peluang jadi siput kijing emas ni.
Oh, dia pancuk bang.
Dia ada seni yang tersendiri. Tak semua orang boleh jejak kijing ni.
Base jam ada satu payung saja. Cuma bergantungkan satu payung. Untuk itu kita mesti melipat payung dengan betul.
Tujuan utama kita terjunan 24 jam. Justin punya idea, saya rasa sangat bangga dengan pencapaian Justin dan saya punya tim.
Seronok tengok Adira dan Anggrek masak.
Mana nak bangun?
Mana boleh tiru, tak boleh tiru.
Nak lagi? Jom ke tonton sekarang untuk konten eksklusif. Confirm comel dan menghiburkan. Anak Mama cuba apa tu? Episod baru Ahad 9 malam. Jangan terlepas. Indahkan memori Ramadan secara eksklusif ditonton.
Laju long. Along, kontrol long.
Pelangi itu pernah menjadi milik kita.
Long dah tinggi dah long.
Tapi kini tenggelam dalam mendung kelam.
Isteri mana nak hidup susah? Abang cakap dengan saya.
Abang Midi dengan Abang Samad kena tangkap dengan polis.
Berlalulah hujan, lalu kembalikan pelangiku. Ahad ini 10 malam, indahkan memori Ramadan di Cereka Ahad TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Thanks for staying with us. Europe's busiest airport, Heathrow, cancelled over 1,000 flights on Friday after a nearby blaze cut power to London's aviation hub. The London Fire Brigade said the fire was under control by 6:30 a.m. local time, with the transformer having previously been alight. 10 fire engines and about 70 firefighters were sent to tackle the blaze, and fortunately no one was reported injured. However, the cause of the blaze is not yet known, and an investigation has been launched. Meanwhile, the airport has warned of significant disruption over the coming days and advised passengers not to travel under any circumstances until it reopens. According to a flight tracking service, at least 1,351 flights to and from Heathrow will be affected on Friday, with some 120 affected aircraft already in the air when the closure was announced.
In the meantime, 4 Malaysia Airlines flights to London have been affected by Heathrow Airport's closure. Malaysia Aviation Group, MAG, in a statement on Friday, said that flight MH2, which left Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA, at 11:37 p.m. on Thursday, was diverted to the Amsterdam Schiphol International Airport in the Netherlands. The aircraft, carrying 246 passengers and 17 crew members, landed safely in Amsterdam at 6:19 a.m. local time. MAG added that passengers were accommodated at hotels near the airport and some have been transferred to other flights. Also affected was flight MH4, which departed at 9:30 a.m. on Friday but had to turn back and arrived at KLIA at 3:30 p.m. 2 other affected flights were MH1 and MH3, which were scheduled to depart from Heathrow on Friday.
Tunisian President Kais Saied has fired Prime Minister Kamil Maduri as the country continues to grapple with economic and political crises. Saied made the announcement late on Thursday, replacing Maduri with Sarah Zafarani, an engineer who has been Minister of Equipment and Housing since 2021. Saied then called on Zafarani to further coordinate government action and overcome obstacles to meet the expectations of the Tunisian people. With the appointment, Zafarani becomes Tunisia's 3rd Prime Minister in less than 2 years and the country's 2nd female prime minister in history. Since his low turnout re-election in 2024, Saied has been struggling to stabilize the country's economy amid an atmosphere of political repression following the imprisonment of many opposition figures as well as businessmen and journalists. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to largely dismantle the Education Department in another move to overhaul the U.S. government. Now, the order, signed on Thursday, directs the Education Secretary to take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the department. It also follows an effort to slash its workforce of more than 4,000 employees by nearly half. Trump's move is expected to clash with powerful labor unions and risks roiling parents and students at all levels of education who rely on the department's programs. However, Trump has vowed to preserve some of the department's programs, citing funding for children with disabilities and special needs. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look at Muslims attending Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque for Friday prayers as the end of the holy month of Ramadan draws near. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for watching, and to our Muslim viewers, selamat bersahur.